Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Are We There Yet? Folks, we are not there yet, but tonight anyway, we'll see where we are. We'll see our processes, how we receive things. We'll look into Vendu and how we create drafts and what platforms we cross-list. Why do we cross-list? We'll go into some of our auditing processes, some of our what do we do with dead stock or old stock, things that we just need to move on, and we'll look at some search placements. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to go ahead and start a timer here, and that'll help keep me on track, keep me so I don't rant on and on and on. I do have agenda. This helps keep me on track. Otherwise, I'll get way off on rabbit trails that we don't want to go down. So let's pull up inventory in Vendu, and we use Vendu for managing or cross-listing, managing those listings on multiple platforms. We also use it quite extensively to manage our inventory. All inventory is first processed. What I mean by processing, we will inspect and clean. We'll photograph the item. We'll create a rough draft, bag and tag, which we'll seal it in a poly bag, and then put it in our inventory system. And previous videos or prior videos, I went over our inventory system and the way we manage a distributed inventory system, if you will. Go over the drafts, and that is all the processing is done mainly by my wife, Lori, and then our son, Nick, will do the actual listing on multiple platforms for us. And then, so let's get into that. I have Vendu brought up here. And let's pick on this Miss Me shirt only because I've set it all up, so you didn't have to watch me fumble through finding it. So let's go ahead and pull this up. You can see Vendu shows that it's on multiple platforms. eBay, Mercari, Poshmark, Depop, as well as Citizen. We don't necessarily list on Citizen so much anymore. We do have inventory on it. And we just don't contribute or add to those listings any longer. You will see that this listing was initially created, or the draft was initially created back in June, a year ago, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and pop this up here. And so my wife will take the photographs, and she will create the drafts. So she will upload the photographs and arrange them the way she wants. She will create the titles, the description. Our descriptions are pretty basic. This is an older listing. Our format has changed a little bit, but it's generally the same. Again, the title, maybe some additional information is provided in the title. And then we do have a disclaimer. We will recommend that they measure, not that anybody really ever reads these, but it is there, that we will claim or state that sizes for used or pre-owned garments do change. They don't always necessarily match the manufacturer's label. Sometimes, as you know, manufacturer's labels can have vanity sizes. So it may be a medium, but show as a size 2. So we do recommend that the buyer first pay attention to our sizes that we have measured, and that they measure a garment that they might have that they know to fit, and make sure that these measurements match. We will state the condition, note any flaws in here. Also, when I say bag and tag, we will assign a SKU, and that relates or corresponds to a box and then the item within is individually ID'd, if you will. For instance, DF is the individual ID. So together it makes unique ID. We do provide measurements, pictures of measurements, and those would of course line up or match our descriptions. So we try to provide as much information as we can. We do close-ups of details and the tags and the content, material content and the like. So Vendu, when she creates the draft, she'll put in the general information about it. Vendu item specifics are a little sparse, but it is what you need to fill out the remaining forms, if you will. After she does that, completes that, then my son Nick will come by later, and he will then begin creating or filling out the platform forms. So for instance, eBay has its own form, has its own item descriptions and details and the like that he will fill out. Posh, the same. So again, fill all those out for each form that is completed. Then of course you can there will be a list, and we can then Vendu from there knows how to reference or where to find that item. As you can see, it's pulled it up in our Poshmark closet, so we can see the actual listing right there. Pretty nice. Again, folks, I do have to mention I am not paid by Vendu, nor am I affiliated with them in any way. I just really like the product, and don't have a problem endorsing products that I like and use. Here's Macari. So Macari, you can tell is listed also, and then the form that is filled out, and then the it's listed. And of course, the item ID on Macari is tracked so that we can find it. So all that is good information. As when it sells, we would go then to the platform that it's sold on and mark as sold. And after you do that, Vendu will go through and delist each, from each platform that the item is listed on. We'll mention nice feature recently added is Vendu will monitor eBay and Poshmark listings. So if the item sells on either of those platforms, Vendu will automatically mark the item as sold, and then will delist from the remaining sites, so we mitigate the risk of the item selling on multiple on multiple platforms at the same time. We're right on top of that, but as you know, items can sell overnight, and if they do so on eBay or Posh, we can be fairly confident that in the morning it will have delisted it everywhere else. So there's, just reduces that risk of it selling somewhere else. Of course, we will have to go back and put in, we will have to go back and put in some of the items, the sales details, such as, the fees. The fees would include any promotional or ad fees that say if it's sold on eBay, and also the label. And the cost of goods is already tracked. Vendu does allow us or provide us the ability to put in what we paid for the item. This is an older item. You can tell we paid $5. Paid too much for that, in my opinion. We can get, as time goes on, you do find other resources, other places, other avenues of sourcing, and perhaps you can find a better cost of goods. In this case, this came from a Goodwill on the retail side, not the bin side, but the retail side. And here in Iowa, our Goodwills, local Goodwills, charge $5 for tops. whether they be men's or women's. Anyway, that's a lot of information. Didn't really know that I intended to go into all that. But anyway, so that's, as I said, that's what we use is Vendoo to cross list on there. Let me go back to our, so yeah, she, as I said, she'll inspect and we'll clean the items. We photograph and draft, bag and tag, create the draft, and then Nick, as I showed, will go through and do the cross listing. While she's going through here, as I said, we have a distributed inventory system. So we have bins that are labeled, uniquely labeled, and we can go as those bins, as the contents of those bins are reduced or sold. They, of course, need to be refilled. Lori will go through and refill those with new product. Before she refills, she'll go through and make sure the items that are left are still listed. As well as being listed, she may look at them and go, okay, I need to update the photographs, perhaps rework the title, adjust the price, or just give up on the item and mark it for clearance. So when an item goes into clearance, we use Vendoo labels here again. Let me take this, let's go ahead and take this off. We'll go then into clearance, bring up our clearance items. And so clearance, we only put items in our clearance section on eBay. We use store categories, and one of our store categories is clearance. So much like a brick and mortar, we have a clearance section, a clearance aisle, if you will. Items move to that when they're on clearance. It makes creating markdowns, markdown sales on just that category quite simple. If we want different markdowns on other areas or other categories within our store, so it helps us manage these a lot easier, as well as pull them up and be able to see all the items that we have on clearance. And at some point, I think our strategy going forward, I said in this series we'll talk about some strategies now and going forward, and probably I'm thinking our strategy is after they've been on clearance and they've had their chance to sell here, then perhaps we convert them to an it's the word I'm looking for, folks. Yeah, that word. Auction. There we go. Yes, an auction. We'll put them on auction and see what we can do with them from there. And then, if they don't sell in the auction, then it was a really, really bad buy. And we'll just donate those at that point. So that's our strategy going forward. Right now, it's, she's in the process of auditing. About halfway through our inventory. When she gets all the way through that, then we'll revisit our clearance items, and as I said, perhaps we'll move those over into auctions or convert them to auctions and go from there. Let's see. Cross listing. We cross list. We believe, and we've done this. One of the major or main reasons we went into Vendoo was not just inventory management, but was to manage our listings across multiple platforms. And we realized or thought back in the day that putting the items, the more eyes that we could put on our items, the faster that they would sell. I'm so glad we did that. I mean, if you think about it, if God forbid we should be banned in eBay or suspended or whatever, we've got our items are still on other platforms. We can still continue to make sales, and we can continue our business. Our items don't sell as quickly on the other platforms, but at least we are making sales. So we can, I feel that we can pivot somewhat quicker. As I said, it also puts more eyes on the item. If it's not, or if that item is severely saturated, say on eBay, and we don't get the placement within the search results, perhaps on other platforms it will fare better or be better placed. Which I think brings us to the next part here, was that we discussed our auditing. Our timer is done. I've already blown 15 minutes. Stick with me, and we'll just go a little bit over. We did talk auditing, our audit process, our clearance, our next strategy after clearance, search placement. I did kind of want to go over some search placement. I'm going to open, in this case, it's Firefox. I am in private mode. This prevents any cookies being set, or just the platforms cannot, they won't be able to track me, and they won't skew my search results in here. So I'm trying to be, in this case, as if I was somebody shopping for the first time, and I don't really have any search results. There's really no way for me to play the role of a consumer who is often on any of these platforms, as they will have some browsing history behind them. But at least I can see what would eBay do if I was brand new, or I just had gotten on that platform, or any of the platforms, not just eBay. So in this case, I have Google Shopping up. I did just take our title, just very generic, and we are placed pretty high in the search results for Google Shopping. I will admit we are rather specific. I don't know that anybody would be specifically looking for a Miss Me, women's shirt, size medium, but if they were, we would be number 4 in the results there. On eBay, again, searching for the same thing, we're number 2. That's so we're not being hidden. We're definitely not being hidden. And as I said, if we remember right, this item was created. Let's go back. And we'll go back. Oh yeah, so it was created over a year ago. So still pretty good placement there. Again, you could argue with me that this is a pretty specific title. Here's Macari. Where are we at on Macari? So we're a little bit further down on Macari. What is that? The 5th row. Depop. The item is on Depop as well. Where are we at? There we are. A little bit further down on Depop. And Bonanza. We have recently started with going with Bonanza. One of our future videos will go into our impressions and how our impressions have been reduced. We don't have as many impressions as we say we did, say, back in April. Now, could that be because there's fewer people shopping? Maybe. Could it be because more sellers are increasing their ad rates? Could be, possibility. I don't know, but we're using the dynamic ads. We have a cap, and I'm not yet ready to go beyond that cap. So what are some other ways? Well, we can do self promotions. We can get our item, in front of more buyers, and perhaps doing so would be using Bonanza does add probably another 5 million eyes potentially. So anyway, so there's more potential there. Nice thing about Bonanza is it will watch our listings in eBay. So as new listings are added to eBay, it will bring those or import those into our booth. And as things sell in eBay or delisted in eBay, it will remove them from our booth. So it's self-managing, if you will. Not found a reason not to trust it. It's done a pretty good job, but I am keeping an eye on it. That's a fairly new addition there. So while Vendoo doesn't directly support Bonanza, Bonanza is, if you will, I mean, it as I said, it watches eBay and monitors what our listings on eBay. So folks, let's go back to our agenda. I think I've covered everything. I did want to mention some other videos. On Sundays, I do Know Your Numbers, and in that series, we'll go over kind of a month-to-date progress report as far as our sales, the numbers sold, the average per day, our profit margins, our gross revenue, our net. We'll compare that to previous weeks, prior months, prior years. We try to get into that and be as transparent as possible with that. Another one on Tuesdays is I do You Sold What? And that one I try to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'll look at our best profit as far as margins are concerned. So our highest profit margin, our highest selling item, as well as the middle ground, I guess we'll call that the bad profit margin, and then the downright ugly, and that one would be obviously we lost some money and would have been a bad buy. Hey folks, my name is Rich. I appreciate the time that you spent with me. I hope you'll come back and